I've told this story to only a handful of people, and every time I do, they ask the same question. They want to know what actually happened. The truth is, that's the part I don't have a clean answer for. There were 3 of us. We'd been friends since college and had taken trips together before. Nothing extreme, nothing reckless. This one was supposed to be simple. A long weekend in the mountains, a rented cabin, and a break from work and phones. The cabin wasn't remote in a survivalist way. It was just far enough from town that the nights were quiet and the roads were narrow. There was a local property manager who lived a short drive away in case anything went wrong. There was no cell service inside the cabin. Outside, reception was spotty at best. We liked it that way. The first day passed exactly how you'd expect. We unloaded groceries, argued about who forgot what, cooked badly, and stayed up too late talking about things that didn't matter anymore. Nothing felt strange. Nothing stood out. If the story ended there, I wouldn't remember the trip at all. The second morning, 2 of us decided to hike to a nearby overlook. It wasn't a serious trail, just a marked path locals used for the view. A couple of miles up, then back down. Our third friend said he wasn't feeling it. He'd stayed up later than us, had a mild headache, and wanted to relax at the cabin. We didn't pressure him. That part still feels important. We left him with food, water, and the small radio that sometimes picked up a station if the weather was right. He joked about enjoying the silence. He locked the door behind us and we started up the trail. At that point, there was no sense of danger, no bad feeling, no hesitation. If there had been, I'd remember it. The hike took longer than we expected, not because the trail was difficult, but because the weather shifted halfway up. Clouds rolled in fast, and the temperature dropped enough that we stopped a few times to adjust layers. By the time we reached the overlook, the view was mostly gray. We stayed a few minutes, then headed back. As we came down, the cabin came into view through the trees. That's when one of us slowed down. He said the cabin looked off, not damaged, just wrong in a way he couldn't explain. From a distance it looked hazy, not smoke pouring out, not fog exactly. Just a thin grayness around the windows, like the air itself was heavier near the building. At first we assumed it was weather settling in. Then we got closer, and we smelled it. It wasn't wood smoke. It smelled sharp and burnt, like overheated wiring or a small appliance that had shut itself off. We ran. The cabin door was locked. We knocked hard and shouted his name. No answer. The haze inside looked thicker now, clinging to the windows. That's when panic set in. One of us ran down the gravel road toward the property manager's place, while the other stayed at the door, trying to see inside. The property manager arrived quickly. He didn't ask many questions. He unlocked the door and pulled it open. The smell hit us immediately. The cabin wasn't on fire. Nothing was actively burning, but the air inside was thick with smoke, like something had overheated and stopped just short of becoming a disaster. Our friend was on the floor near the bathroom, not in a dramatic way, just down. Eyes closed, breathing shallow. We dragged him outside and laid him on the ground. It took longer than it should have for him to respond. When he finally opened his eyes, he didn't recognize us right away. He was sweating heavily, shaking, and struggling to form full sentences. The property manager asked if we wanted him to call 911. Our friend shook his head weakly and said no. We didn't argue. After several minutes, he was able to talk. His voice was hoarse, like he'd been shouting or coughing. He said he'd been lying on the couch when he heard movement in the bathroom. Not footsteps. Movement. He said the bathroom light turned on by itself. He assumed one of us had come back early. Then he saw something move. Not clearly. Not fully visible. Just a dark shape shifting across the bathroom floor and up the wall, fast enough that his brain couldn't make sense of it. That was the last thing he remembered. He didn't recall screaming. He didn't remember collapsing. Just that moment. And then waking up outside. The property manager inspected the cabin thoroughly. No active fire, no obvious electrical failure, no clear explanation for the smoke. The radio was off. Nothing in the bathroom looked damaged. He said older cabins sometimes trap heat in strange ways. It was the kind of explanation you give when you don't have a better one. We packed up immediately. No debate, no let's sleep on it. We loaded the car and left before nightfall. Our friend insisted he was okay to travel. He didn't look okay, but he was conscious, alert, and adamant. The drive back was quiet. At one point, he broke the silence. He said something that stuck with me. He said whatever he saw didn't feel like it entered the room. It felt like it had already been there. After that weekend, things changed. Not dramatically, subtly. He stopped doing overnight trips. He avoided staying alone in unfamiliar places. If he had to, he left lights on and doors open. He never talked about the cabin unless someone else brought it up. As far as I know, nothing like that ever happened to him again. No smoke, no figures, no lost time. But something about him shifted after that. Like he no longer trusted quiet spaces the way he used to. I've thought a lot about that trip over the years. About how ordinary it felt at the start. About how easily we left him alone. About how close we might have been to not coming back in time. I don't know what caused the smoke. I don't know what he saw. And I don't know if the two things were connected. What I do know is that the only reason this story ends the way it does is because we came back when we did. If we'd stayed at the Overlook longer, if the weather hadn't turned, if we'd taken a different trail, I don't know what we would have walked into. I still go to the mountains, but I don't leave people behind anymore. And I don't stay alone in cabins I don't know. Not because I believe something followed us, but because some places don't need to follow you to leave a mark.